Good afternoon and welcome to our 8th Ideas for a Better World Forum. This is one of our main platforms for bringing local and global leaders together to share ideas, to exchange views, and importantly, to inspire action and to spark collaborations for good. 20 young people aged 19 to 27 have come to the end of a 6-month journey. A journey to develop, to fine-tune, to pitch your ideas for social enterprises. I am told that there were 9 nationalities involved in this group of 20. So that's great diversity for you. Social enterprises, charities, non-profits alike all need to adopt business principles of scalability, accountability, and sustainability. Corporates too play a part in the social innovation ecosystem. Now more than ever, their public expect them to do good with the same commitment they have to being profitable. Beyond the popular and much misused term corporate social responsibility, businesses are under pressure to change entire corporate cultures, to pay heed to the triple bottom lines of profit, of people, and of planet. So much to be done in order to do good. And it's timely now for me to introduce our panelists for the day to tackle these weighty issues.
I always believe that you have to do well first as a person, as well as what you're doing as a business or in your career. And then you also will be able to do well in the community as well. So I started off with business and learn from business what I do. And then eventually, step by step, I got involved with the youth community and young adults. So I'm very excited today because I'm actually, after the whole morning session, to hear from all the young people and inspired by all the young people and all the ideas, and then I think of 10 more ideas on what to do with the young people. So I really like to create this platform where a network of for young people to continue to network with other successful business people to be able to develop their idea. So doing good is one thing, and you have to do well to help your community.
One of the key essential things to be a social entrepreneur is the fact that you have to be brave and you have to have the courage. Because you have to have the courage to, one, do something different where people will see you're insane. You have to have the courage to actually go and do it, be able to sell your idea. And the third thing, which is I think most important, you have to have the courage to fail. Which again, in our Asian society, we feel that word doesn't exist. Okay, you have to fail and get up and do it again. So I guess why am I saying this? Because I guess in my journey, I'm from Bangladesh, and I guess when I was born in the late 60s, the women were really not expected to do much other than get married. And I think for me, I felt fortunate that the fact that even I got an education. So for me, the journey always has been how to bridge what I got. And again, coming from Bangladesh, where poverty at that point, even it's bad today, but it was poverty was everywhere. So for me, it was really how do I bridge where I came from, which is a middle-class family, and see how I can give back. And my family was really into that as well.
The financial crisis, I think, has taught us a few things, which is that it is not a sustainable model. We need something that's a lot more equitable. We need something which can allow us to share out the wealth that's been created. We need real productivity. We need real innovations that can improve the lives of every man and woman. Otherwise, there will come a time where the very traditional theory of proletariat and bourgeois is going to rise again, but in a new form, aided by social media, aided by a very flat world. And if we do not take heed, and if we allow those kind of things to happen, then I think more is at stake than what we have now if we start doing something.
From the business sector, traditionally businesses has looked upon this whole notion that they are all about really making money, and and as an option, some of them may want to kind of do some good by giving away money to charity, or sometimes doing what is known as the traditional corporate social responsibility. But that's beginning to change, and part of it is the excesses of capitalism is putting a lot of pressure on companies to look at stakeholders beyond the shareholder itself. So companies are now more socially, environmentally conscious. In fact, in the whole corporate sector, there's a movement for companies to report on what is known as their ESG, their environment, their social and governance impact back to their shareholders as well as other stakeholders. So that is pushing companies to be more socially aware and impactful beyond just the question of financial returns to their shareholders.
It was very difficult to raise capital when you actually have these fantastic ideas. You can have a fantastic idea, you can have the courage, you can have the great intention and the beautiful business plan, but the reality is someone has to put money in it, right? And how do you get that money? Where do you get it? So I said, you know what, let's step back. And this was really good because I started teaching, and that always clarifies things for you. And I said, you know what, let's really, really, really push the system and say, why not even create a capital markets for this space? Why not actually push it to actually see if we can create even a stock exchange for that? So my sort of whole leap back into entrepreneurship came from the fact that I said, you know what, I'll push for the ultimate, the impossible, the crazy, which is creating a stock exchange for social enterprises. And for us, what is social enterprise? They're mission-driven, for-profit company, or market-driven, not-for-profit. So if you're a not-for-profit, you have to know how to make money and be sustainable. And if you're for-profit, at your core, you have to do good. So this is sort of the mission.
I see a lot of competition out there for young entrepreneurs to get a startup capital, to even get the ground going. If you can't, then you have to really volunteer yourself so that, you know, I always ask this question, you want to do something for less advantage. Do you have the experience? Do you know what you need to go through? So all this, you know, something that you need to know very well. And you're talking about, you know, traditional companies being in there, the bigger companies, you know. But a long time ago, we always taught this principle, 孙子 art of war, you know, where you look at them as enemy and you want to take over them. But today, I think the new word is actually collaboration. Maybe you can think about your startup idea. How can you collaborate with a company? Can you be of help to that company? And then using their CSR funds to fund you to grow. And that way, also from their experience, and you know, for a lot of startup who wants to, I think another one is about products. You know, how do you compete in prices? But beside money, product, actually you need distribution and network. If you collaborate with a bigger company, they may be able to distribute some of your products internationally as well. So these are all the things you look in beyond. So in times of crisis, you may become more important to certain companies. They have grown to a bigger size company where they don't really get to the ground. You can be the social entrepreneurs who get to the ground to do the works for them, and ultimately they get the benefit at the end part as well.
If we're going to actually compete and be seen equal to a traditional capital markets, we need to have very good qualifiers of our social impact. And it's not good enough just to say, you know, we're doing good for the people, we're doing good for the world. We have to be able to quantify it. And this is something that, you know, I was fortunate I could spend time in research when I was at LKY school, but extending that, and now we actually have a very extensive tool to actually measure the social impact, which goes hand in hand with the financial impact. And this is very, very important, because if you're bringing in investors who are going to ask for a triple bottom line, who actually want to get triple bottom line, you better know how to give those numbers to them. It's not only the financial, but social and the environmental. So I think the big takeaway, I guess, from all of this is I wish I was where you are today, because the world is absolutely ready for you to do what you want to do, which is do good. All you need to do is just jump in and do it.
I was wondering if you could talk more about the metrics by which you measure the impact, the social impact of your causes.
The world is evolving. How do you measure the social impact of whatever is being done? And really, when you think of social impact, it varies from organization to organization. I mean, the social impact of what you do in with juvenile delinquents differ from what you might do with people with AIDS and all that. So the way you would measure that is very variable. And the question is then, how do you measure social impact across different organizations? So it is not a question of size of the company. It really is the fact that social impact is not an easy thing to be measuring.
I've started looking at impact measurement as early as about 8 years ago. And I actually did a trip all the way up to Harvard Business School and spoke with a variety of people because there's a lot of works that was there. Of course, it was still early years. And then, we looked at various impact measurement. In the beginning, it was, 8 years ago, even up until 5 years ago, it was a little premature because people are still trying to get used to the term social entrepreneurship. So it was very important that, we get the work started and then, learn how to measure it while it is being evolved. And if you think about it, I'm a lot more optimistic about the ability to measure social impact in time to come. It will have to be an evolving process because even the measurement of financial impact itself took time, and which is why it is now called GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. Right? These are accounting methodologies that are generally accepted, which means that it has to go through many, many years of evolution, different methodologies coming together such that one day people could generally accept or agree on a set of measurement yardstick. Because currently there are many different groups around the world that's attempting to do that, and so it necessarily differs from group to group. But when the time comes, and you have to give it time to grow, I think we will have, and I aspire towards seeing the establishment of a GAAP for social impact. And I'm optimistic about that happening.
There are actually now very formal impact measurement tools. And if you are interested, I'll just throw you some names and do look it up on the websites. The first is just, as Penny was saying, GAAP, you have on the financial side. Now there's accounting on the social side. It's called IRIS, Impact Reporting Investment Standard.
That's easy to remember, IRIS.
IRIS,
Okay.
yes. So what that is actually really, if you can imagine, it's just literally the GAAP for the social side. So it gives you the taxonomy to go and capture the data. Once you capture the data, you can use that to evaluate it. You have things like GIRS, the Global Impact Investment Rating Standards, GIIRS. You can also look it up. Or you can have Social Return on Investment, SROI. So we actually work a lot with both GIRS and SROI, and we actually go and collect the data. And then on top of that, what we do is we have this social impact assessment that we do vis-a-vis Asia, because a lot of these things are very Western-centric, because they're coming out from mostly UK and US. So we actually take that and put it in a Asian context. The country is very important when you're doing social measurement. The sector is very important. So we actually, kind of do those flavors on top of the actual tools. So anyway, I know it was a lot of jargons out there, but this is actually something that is happening globally. There are a lot of stakeholders involved, academic institutions, also a lot of accounting firms who are part of it now. So this is actually something real that is happening, and it has gotten a lot of ground. So you should look it up.
My name is Ko Sing Chun. I'm from Dignity Kitchen. I just at the utmost respect of what Julian just said, because there's a difference between want to be entrepreneur and the need to be entrepreneur. I think in your travel, you must have seen people, maybe Bangladesh or wherever it is, they really need to do it. And there's a difference between the people sitting here today. A lot of them just want to do. The minute you change from want to be to need to be, and there's a big difference.
What do you think will happen? What do you think for yourself personally?
What do you mean?
About the want and the need to.
I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but now I need to be an entrepreneur because there's so many people depending on me to succeed.
How did you arrive at that
I run a hawker
decision?
center for disabled and disadvantaged, and I train there. And a large chunk of them actually come to my place. And there's a difference between the stage where I can't stop, because every day I get mother with disabled children asking me to train them to be hawkers, people with one hand, polio, kids who bite their hand every day looking for work. So you reach a stage where you can't stop. You need to be, not want to be.
I heard all about Dignity Kitchen, but until I visit Dignity Kitchen, I was really touched by what he's doing. And that's where collaboration come in. And I kind of pitched it up to say we should have more hawker centres and move in alignment with our government. And therefore, I chaired the panel for planning for the next 10 hawker centres, so that after Chun Sing have taught the less advantaged people the skill cooking and being a hawker centre, they need a hawker centre to create business. So in terms of where he come from and where I could add my value and where we could collaborate with the government to provide 10 new hawker centres for young people to start their business. Some of you are in wanting to do food business as well. So you can see how this collaboration work to make it happen. But then, there again, you need mentors that will be able to take you step by step, because each step of the way you need funding, you need mentoring, and the last thing you need distribution. How else can you provide your food to, just not in Singapore, but in Asia, or your idea, can you bring your idea to an Asia market?
I think there's, just hearing everybody, there is some confusion between social enterprise and social entrepreneur. The two are not exactly the same. I mean, one is an individual, one is an organization, but not all social enterprises are run by social entrepreneurs, and not all social entrepreneurs run social enterprises. But the important thing is that social enterprise is fundamentally a business, and the experience of most of people who have studied social enterprises is that by and large, very few actually succeed. And the reason is that many people don't treat social enterprise as a business, so they don't run it, with from a business, with the right kind of business acumen. So I know that many over here are very interested in social enterprises. The main thing to bear in mind is that first and foremost, you must run it as a business. And as Durian said, in a business, what's important is your customer.
These are the things you have to keep in mind when you're an entrepreneur. When someone is telling you, people will be full of advice. But deep down, it's only you who know what you need to do. But I think the other person who's important is actually the customer. Because even if you're being a social entrepreneur, you have to sell a product, you have to sell a service. And if no one's buying it on the other side, you kind of need to go back and see what you're doing wrong. Okay, so so you are important, your customer is important, all right? And to everyone else in the room, I think one of the biggest things for us when we created IAX was the learning that it's not only the investors and the entrepreneurs, it's actually the whole ecosystem that's needed to make this thing possible. So we actually reached out to all the accountants, the rating agencies, the research companies in all the different countries in Asia, which meant that the fact that the entrepreneur, when they came to look for capital for us, we could reach out to an accountant and say, could you please audit the books for a lower rate? We could reach out to the research company and say, hey, do you have any research that you have done in this sector? And can you include this company? So I think the message is it's not only the entrepreneurs and the people with the money, it's all of us. So we all have a role to play in creating the social capital markets, which really is a new movement that all of us can be a part of.
Nothing is going to be successful unless we are able to gather enough momentum and enough snowball effect. And this can only happen when individuals, starting with individuals, getting together on a platform like this that SIF has provided, that Doreen has provided, that all my other fellow panelists have provided in one way or another. Get together, increase the level of trust within the community itself, and create a community of change makers who can be frontliners or support network. Because indeed, Doreen is right, you need an ecosystem. Currently, we don't have anyone who has done an audit of the social innovation or social entrepreneurship landscape in Singapore or around the world, to look at what are the missing links, what are the weak points that could be boosted. Perhaps that's one area that we could do together. And that might be something that has to be undertaken by a slightly bigger organization, but each one of us can do our part. And the support network for each other is going to be tremendously important, because this is not a simple journey. First, it's new. Second, the standards of measurement are not quite there yet. So you need some time to sort of learn the ropes and persist. So I think it's important that perhaps this network that has been created should be, put out and shared amongst participants and maybe even those who are not here, so that we can foster this movement and foster this snowball effect. In short, it really takes many hands to clap, and I think we can do this clap quite loudly together. My hope is that in one day, social enterprise or socially responsible business would be called the mainstream business.